All right. Greetings to all my beloved flying monkeys and any visiting sports fans. They're rarely, I have never had an interview scheduled. I wanted to start it right now. I start it now. I mean, we've had this waiting for 10 days because of Tom's schedule and my schedule. And even on the heels of an absolute bucket list interview that I did with Kathy O'Brien, so excited to have connected with her. Tom's story, first of all, guys, I have integrity as an investigative journalist. I have spent hours, days on Tom's story. So not to give the impression that I'm immature, I'm not thinking this through, I'm all in already. I've examined the story, and I believe rationally that Tom is sincere, and he absolutely connects the dots across the board with all of these areas of corruption that are critical to humanity, not to sound grandiose, but to humanity, especially the truth-seeking community. This is what it's all about, which is why there's been so much kickback. There's been so much interference. Tom, first, let me say I'm excited to have you on and looking forward to building a relationship with you. Thanks for this time. And just to say hello to you real quick, because I've got a preamble to set you up.
I appreciate that, Johnny. Let's roll the sleeves up and get busy.
Outstanding. All right. So big picture, always want to give the big picture. Why is Tom's story? Why does Tom connect the dots across the board? Some notes that I have. Look, for centuries, there is a malignancy. We come this out. I'm showing my age here. Just had a birthday recently. And going back to old Star Trek, OG Star Trek, Day of the Dove, where there's some kind of weird malignancy that's constantly playing everyone to keep them fighting, to keep them trying to tear each other down, to keep them dying, and then coming back so they can fight some more. There's no doubt about that. For me, what I have seen, all roads still lead back to Rome and the Vatican. But above the Vatican, even if you're not clear on that, you may not believe in that, for Christians and even those outside of a Christian audience, if you believe that there is a malignant interdimensional agency, this will appeal to you. This will say, yep, that absolutely is going on behind the scenes. Here's what I have found. I have found that across humanity, across history, there's been a transformation of control. Old school control is to put a soldier on every street corner. The new control is to get human beings to willingly submit to slavery. Now, for me personally, what I've seen, this is the transformation from military Rome into religious Rome, and it perfectly fits. Now soldiers are police, and they herd the outliers. That's their job, herd the outliers. Well-kept secret, by the way, for anybody that's not familiar with me, Ignacio Lopez, aka Ignatius Loyola, founder of the Jesuits, created the police force, police department. Critical to this tactic of controlling government is science and the fraud of science. This is why Tom is so important. Tom connects the dots between government and entertainment. As I've said many, many, many times before, when a satanic system, when a malignant system, when a system of slavery controls by lies and deception and has no basis in science, has a pseudoscience, who do they turn to make the lie real? Entertainment. Let's see here. Well-kept secret. The Jesuits spearheaded this effort as part of the Counter-Reformation called Jesuit Theater. Even Wikipedia hints at this. By the way, don't trust Wikipedia. Let's see here. Saucy's rulers of evil. I don't want to get trapped up in the preamble. I want to get right to the facts here. What has appealed to me as I listen to Tom Althouse tell his story, and I want to get into these details, every step of the way, Tom throws the BS flag on things that have caught and trapped everybody else. From China to Russia, Ukraine to Rose McGowan, Tom has said, yeah, they seem like they're on our side. They're really not. Maybe to jump right in the middle, Tom, I don't know if you remember talking about Rose McGowan. You knocked it right out of the park. Rose McGowan, the ex-girlfriend of Marilyn Manson, who was part of the Me Too movement, who was all nice and quiet until it gave her a benefit to suddenly join Me Too I have other examples. Scarlett Johansson, that was outraged at being sexualized for her Black Widow character, when, surprise, surprise, that's what it's founded on. There's no doubt in my mind that poor Scarlett has gone the route as Jennifer Lawrence has gone the route. There's a story recently about Jennifer Lawrence, actually not recently, a couple of years ago, where she said, yes, I did have to get naked for a female producer, and it was humiliating. Me too. Meanwhile, Tom, personal experience, it's much worse than that. Much worse than that. What's your take on Hollywood and the corruption, before we get into this, the corruption of the system, why you see so clearly, you lived it?
Well, Hollywood has presented itself, the moguls, movie moguls, as the top powers. That's how they like to present themselves. Like Joel Silver says, he acquires art, he doesn't make it. So they feel like, like the Nazi system, where Goebbels and Goering and rest were basically living the life in their terms. And so basically what you have is Hollywood is not the ones that call the shots, it's the powers above them. So you've got layer and strata where this whole system is laid out. The documentary is going to focus on this also, where the real powers come from the banks, the investors, and Bank of England, and also in America, Federal Reserve, such like that. They're the ones that hold the string. Any organization and body can be disbanded if their funding is officially cut. So basically Hollywood and even the alphabet boys, as we call them, are at the mercy of the banking institutions.
Listening to you and your story is how it starts. It's not an easy thing to cut finance, but with the power of an angry populace, they are already scurrying. Let's back out and go big picture. This goes way back for you, all the way back to the 80s. You had a difficult situation in your home growing up. I know that you had problems with at least your mom. You have problems also with your dad being kind of abusive.
Yeah, both.
And so you had the impression that you were being beat down on simply because you were a good-looking young kid. You were there's perfect, if we can use that word. And I sent to you how this struck me as a parallel with Fight Club, also came out, published in 1999, just as The Matrix was, and the Jared Leto character Angel Face, that the Norton character, aka Pitt character, brutally beat and disfigured by beating him up because he was perfect. And I just kind of got that satanic vibe that you were vulnerable. You're a beautiful kid. Now, normal parents, Tom, would see a beautiful child and covet that and try to protect them. What was going on? What's the what's going on in your family? Why would that happen?
Well, there was a hierarchy in the family too. My brothers, one brother, older brother, was basically just nasty, narcissist, the bad seed, if you want to watch that movie again. That's what he was. And it's just like everything under the sun was done. Trap set, things like that, attacks, abuse. I have a broken nose, you can see. So it's kind of like Christopher Nolan with Star Trek series, as you said, where they have Nemesis and Picard has a clone off of him, and you see him busted up, broken jaw, all that. But he's a good looking guy at that point. And but he pretends to be in the kindness and sweetness, and he turns out to be in the Nemesis. He turns out to be evil. That's the picture they're trying to paint of me. Pat Robertson did that. Hollywood did that. They're all trying to say, look, Tom's evil. Even Sophia Stewart, who claims to be the mother of the Matrix, out of Warner Brothers. Her top guy has been in contact with me, giving me information showing that she's a plant for Warner Brothers to be a first claimant. She said, Tom, you're the evil one. He's the evil.
Yeah.
So what you have is this spin that way, that if you're actually a good person, they're trying to turn that around and make you into the most evil, narcissistic person, projecting themselves. But as a family, growing up, it wasn't really growing up, it was growing down, and then trying to figure out a way to make things better for people. I chose, during the situation of the beatings and things like this, to come up with a system of layered thinking where I could think of positive things outside of the beatings while the beatings are occurring. There's nothing I could do about it as a young kid. So what I did was I figured I could make a better world. It really ingrained. So the more I got beat, the more I ingrained the idea that I'm going to make it better for others so others don't go through this.
It's almost dissociative identity disorder. That's almost dissociative identity disorder.
You look at it that way, except when you do layers, you're aware of everything. So you see everything where it's like, the beating's going on, you're present in that mind. you're also present in the other. That's why they say parent schizophrenic. No, parent schizophrenics can't even groom themselves. They can't even dress themselves. They certainly can't articulate a number of sentences together in a cohesive thought pattern. There's no way. They don't talk like this. And so what you have is they throw that. Layered thinking, the result of that was, the dynamics of it was, I could create music, art, do critical thinking, address questions, and come up with answers all at the same time while being aware of all settings. That's why I thrived on the stage in performance, is because I'm aware of the audience, what they're feeling, while I'm aware of my character, what it's feeling, while I'm aware that it's a pretense while I'm doing it, and then bring it to reality where my body believes it's real. When you apply the layers, it works. And when you apply the layer of the emotions. So I think that's where humanity is developing to, which would be considered dissociative, like you said at first, maybe, that because of the limited primitive place mankind is right now, and womankind, they would tag that. But we're developing where that's going to be the norm, to feel multi feelings simultaneously and have control of that and make it all positive. So that's where we're at. And you can watch in the future, as I wrote this stuff, there will be laws in the future, I believe, Johnny, where they're going to make it illegal to show too much feeling at the same time. I don't mean demonstratively. I mean too many layers of feeling, even if it's all positive. You'd be too dynamic for society, where they would say you're disrupting the peace just by being a presence of dynamic.
Too much depth. There's too much depth. And this is why you're such a powerful figure. This is why they so desperately crave your creativity, because this pain and challenge deepened your soul from a very young age. And then you worked on it through you have a master's in script writing. Is that correct?
I had everything except the comps and the orals, because that's where Pat Robertson's group, that was growing to be the face of the Christian Coalition, took everything away. And it's an interesting note too, Johnny, that I talk fast. I do. If you watch the NASA scientists, they talk fast. I was tested gifted genius. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, to put it in context, we talk fast. We think fast. We have to slow down our thoughts for the majority of the population. It's hard. That's not ego. That's a fact. I was tested in the top 1%. So the doctor said, yeah, you definitely wrote this. You wrote the screenplay. You got that genius. My sister that was bought actually tore up the diagnosis. Tremendous empathy, gifted genius. She tore it up and said it was faked. You can't fake 2 days of testing, IQ tests, things like that, and where you're not allowed to even have a pencil or tap your fingers. It's like to come up with these answers in multi-layers. No, that's a true test. And so what you're seeing is there's this desperation to shut down those that are high level thinkers. That's the last bastion the opposition is afraid of. They're very afraid of that. The Zionist Manifesto talks about that. Authors or creators that actually grab the attention of the public and are seen as legit. So holding the copyright to the big blockbusters and all this offshoots, and preceding it with a date right there, this is the 1998 version, which was shot in 1999. And looking at the Wachowskis, how they talk and how they present themselves, they have to have a script. They look like they're in kindergarten, not to insult kindergartners. But this is like full of all the things they lifted. So it's a given. We're going to succeed. And contacts have said, Tom, you've won the chess game, which means others are winning the chess game too. And right now you're watching the cabal in full retreat, all the different layers and factions of it. And one of their big downfalls has been boasting and bragging. That gave a lot of drips and material for the documentary, all the things that have been boasted. And a lot of their number one players have come on board now saying, you've won the chess game, Tom. That means others too. Paparazzi have said, Hollywood is very aware of all your stuff. They're just hoping the public doesn't catch on. And that's where the shills come in.
And this is what we're doing. By the way, for any visiting sports fans, Tom Althouse is almost certainly, as you examine this evidence, you cannot walk away thinking anything other than Tom Althouse is the creative genius behind the most seminal film of our time, The Matrix, which his original script title was The Immortals. And as you go into the details here, I'm sold. And again, I didn't come at this with an agenda. I came at this as an investigative journalist. And Tom sold me in the sincerity and the details and the facts of what he has to say. Before we leave your upbringing, Tom, I just want to tell you, it kind of resonated with me a little bit. In my upbringing, my father was abusive because he was a serial adulterer. He would go out, he would cheat on my mother, he wouldn't wear a wedding ring, come home and take it out on me in abuse. What do you think was the dysfunction among your parents to be abusive to you?
Well, it was all explained to me. My mom explained to me later when I was going to college why she had done all the things she did to me, including my brothers in on the abuse. Because she said that it's weird. I don't mean this as an ego thing. It actually was something that caused a lot of hurt in my life. But she said, you're too perfect. Your eyes, your smile, all that stuff. And so that's why Pat Robertson cast me to be the face of the Christian Coalition. It actually was a curse to be that way. And so because I looked good in her terms, I was a second born. My brother, who was just the narcissist, was the first. And that's who Disney's trying to claim will be the actual writer of the Matrix in the end, and that he gave it to them. And so when I'm X'd, they think they'll give him the work and the credit. He's all for it. He's got small Disney projects. But he was the firstborn. My mom felt that she was set aside being firstborn. So she was going to take it out on her secondborn, who got all the attention in her life growing up. So she was going to take it out on the secondborn, especially if he looked really good. And that's why all the beatings. She explained that to me on a letter to college. But right now we're close. I'm looking out for her. In fact, I'm one sibling with my other younger brother, looking out for my mom, where the rest of the family is bought, saying, don't associate with Tom or you will have no grandchildren in your life. You'll be cut off. She's 90, dying of cancer, and she's cut off.
That is the triumph of love right there. That's the triumph of love. There's so much. Let's pick up after your upbringing, your parents, flawed as they were, your dad, Jack, and your mom, Violet, right?
Yeah, Patricia. Violet is my grandmother's name.
Grandmother, right. Okay. And were Christian or seemingly Christian or dedicated to Christianity, although not really understanding it.
My mom is definitely a Christian now, definitely, and on fire. In fact, I'm going to help her publish a lot of her discoveries and writings. So she's very gifted, also very gifted. So I'm lifting her now, and she's afraid. She was saying, like, I don't deserve this. I was terrible to you. I said, no, you're a voice and someone to emulate as you are now. So I'm glad we stuck this through.
No human does. That's what it means to be human, is to be flawed and failed, and to be to come back up from pain and trial and mistakes. Praise God that you're in that position, or she's in that position. What a gift to you both.
Yeah.
So this is part of why you gravitated towards, I think, what was then as CBN University before it became Regent. Correct?
That's right. Supposed to be a good place to study. It was supposed to be a religious Christian environment, and that was the touted points that were given to me to say, take this. Their president of their college at the time, or university, was Bob Schlosser, and he had called me personally and said, are you coming here? We want you. So that was part of the cabal arm saying, get in here. And a lot of the things that transpired were cabal offering the chair to join. And that's why it corresponded with the offer to be the face of the Christian Coalition from Pat Robertson himself. At the same time, the FBI gave me a card that said, please extend your courtesy to Tom Althouse. I still have.
Hey, pause right there. Let's just burrow down in there. So Pat Robertson and CBN University connected to the Federal Bureau of, I call it Inquisition. Unbelievable that all is overarching a massive spider web of deep corruption. Right away, why is it they picked you out? Because you were a good-looking young kid. Go ahead.
All he wanted was if you're talking about Pat Robertson, he wanted the face of the Christian Coalition, where people would trust that face. When I was cast in the Shenandoah Shakespeare Express, the international touring Shakespeare company, which actually Judi Dench is on the board and others. When I was cast in that, which was a coveted position for many, and also connected to Hollywood, they said your face, the way you look at the time, would be perfect for Angelo, because people would, they'll say you did bad things as that character in Shakespeare's play, Measure for Measure, but you would not, that they would still like you, say, I still like you. So you want that torn element out there for audiences. And so again, the face look thing was involved. And so that's what's interesting about a lot of the actors in Hollywood. This is really a lot of times which gets them in. A lot of times certain moguls will lust after individuals, which happened to me in Robertson's organization, others in the industry. And so boys or girls, and they'll want that look, to covet that look and own that look, like Joel Silver says, he acquires property. Well, you're a property to them. You're an asset to them. And so a pun can come right off of that. But the thing is, like, you're taken in, and a lot of times it's this that starts it. They can see you in certain roles. They see you as this. They see the appeal, and you're told they'll craft it further for the appeal. And then you get into the darkness of it all, and you're hooked in. If they dirty your hands, you're hooked in. And now you start doing what Rose McGowan did and others later. When it comes time, maybe your career starts to falter a bit. You're not getting much attention. Suddenly you can blow the whistle and get a lot of attention. That's not how I went. I was cut at the starting blocks after I was, being brought up. I thought, this isn't right. I don't see a lot of people say it isn't right when they're being offered the gravy and the money.
I want to impress upon the audience that not just because I am very cynical, but when you look at someone with the power and reach of Pat Robertson and his behavior, I feel that there was an intent to, just like Tom is saying, to own a male seeking, a pederast, a male seeking to sexually own a good-looking young man. As proof of what Tom is saying is I have a picture of the person who did become the face of the Christian Coalition, Ralph Reed, who has the exact same paradigm of, this was in the, 80s and 90s, and he looks like he's 14 here. I have to step back and immediately ask, what happened to this guy? Did this guy play the game? Was this guy part of a sex ring? Was this guy owned sexually by older men? Real quick, as an aside, I have this picture of David Hogg, the teenage face of gun confiscation after the, which false, like one of the false flags, one of the, I have to remember which mass shooting, high school mass shooting it was, one of the other, and he's here with Cameron Kasky for a prom that they went to together. So this sort of sexual deviance and sexual perversion is the cement of what keeps these corrupt deceptions going. Tom, do you think Ralph Reed is deep in this stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I look at the process I went through when I was first candidate to be the face of the Christian Coalition. I didn't answer the questions right. You're given a series of questions to find out if you'll agree to do the dirty, if you'll agree to brush aside all the wrongdoing. And when the answer you're supposed to give basically to others in your circle is, Robertson does some good. I'll let it go because I'll overlook everything he does. And they'll ask you questions like, the Better Business Bureau wants our records. What do you think we should do? I've said this before, but that's the kind of questions you get. And your answer's not supposed to be the one I gave. Well, if we have nothing to hide, just let them have it. That's the wrong answer, according to them. Ralph Reed gave the right answer, I'm certain, which was, we answer to God, not to them. Ralph, here's your limo.
There is a scene in the 2015 movie Spotlight that goes into the child abuse of the Archdiocese of Boston, where Michael Keaton's character, Robbie Robinson, at the Boston Globe, all very much controlled. It's all very much disinformation, but the story itself is extremely powerful, is talking to a Roman Catholic lawyer who says the exact same thing. Look, the Archdiocese has had some issues. They've made some mistakes, but they do good for people. They do good. So what is the implication? Go ahead and throw them a few boys because they do good things. Just the psyop there involved. I want to tell you folks, I hope I am able to get these details out of Tom. We're doing more than one interview to show you what I absolutely believe, that Pat Robertson is a part of this. As Tom, as you have said, his purpose is to destroy Christianity, to go and bilk an audience that may have even less critical thought, that is too quick to suspend their maturity and their critical thought as Christians, to go and buy into a paradigm that they exploit specifically for that.
Right. That's right. Pat Robertson said that his demographic, the evangelicals, are one of the dumbest segments of society. So he's using them because they will overlook everything. That's part of what's in the screenplay too, that kind of idea. And again, I want to point out, Johnny, that they're going to say things like they did in Canada with Trudeau's administration. Tom mumbles. He doesn't make any sense. He presents no evidence. Whenever they say it's all lies, no, I think I'm talking clearly and concisely. Maybe I talk fast, but that's because my mind works that way. And
don't worry about the critics. I don't give a crap about the critics. I'm only interested in the names, places, and dates of your story, which I think completely ratify what you have to say.
But that's the tactic they use. I'm saying the tactics they use, I appreciate that, is that they'll launch these things at you and even say you have evil eyes. That's just insane. So it's good that we're getting beyond now. We're at a point where they're on a rear guard action. Like I said, they're on a rear guard action where they're trying to keep the image up and a bravado up that they're fine. And that's even right down the
ridiculous ad hominem attacks that have no bearing on the facts of what you have to say. When you were there at what was then CBN University, everything that they did had a sinister overtone. They separated the genders and gave you special classes where with really weird, heretical, and satanic doctrine masked as Christian or biblical doctrine, fixated on men's seed and genitalia and how you're supposed to act with women, completely twisted. At one point, telling you that there's greater glory for God through sin, which is actually a really easy to smash down based on scripture in Romans chapter 6, where Paul says very specifically, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who have died to sin live any longer in it? Yet they teach this. They need these lies and these perversions to create an empire based on, it's an empire of perversion, Tom, and you lived it.
That's right. And also they're trying to cast God as a weak God. Whatever your beliefs are as audience members, it's like, Johnny, they try to make him weak. And Robertson actually did a piece about the laws of reciprocity, he calls it. He says that God is bound by his laws, that you'll become rich, because he says that if you give to Pat Robertson's ministry, then you'll have to get back tenfold. He goes like this, pressed down and overflowing. And so he's claiming that God is bound by his own laws and you can control God. And so basically what's going on, and it's funny because I even sound like him sometimes because I was groomed to be his voice, his face. And it's like, sometimes
grandiose and phony. They want you to be grandiose and phony.
Yeah. So anyway, he's claiming that in this audio portion I saw on YouTube where he's actually speaking this about his book and his law of prosperity
doctrine. Sure.
Yeah. So he's saying this directly out, and so that feeds right into the cabal's idea of weakening God and weakening the followers so that they can control them and say they're the real gods, they're the real power. That gives a glimpse into what he's really after and what they're thinking as a collective.
Yeah, there's no way that you're going to get I think Night of Malta, Henry Luce and his Time magazine promoting Mr. Lion's Paw over here. There's no way he's going to get that level of coverage. And I'm going to remind the audience, look to the substance. Look to the substance. What has the Christian coalition delivered? Nothing. What political gains has Pat Robertson handed? The so-called moral majority, Falwell and Robertson and all that ilk, who, by the way, never, ever, ever criticized the Roman Catholic Church. Meanwhile, up until this, the foundation of Christian eschatology and prophecy were Martin Luther, John Calvin, John Knox, John Wycliffe, William Tyndale, all these minds that carefully warned you that Rome is the fourth and final beast of Daniel and Revelation, drunk on the blood of the saints. All of these frauds, all of these corrupt frauds are happy to get in bed with the power of the Vatican. Back on with the impetus of the interrogation scene of The Matrix was plucked from the immortal screenplay. Tom, what were you thinking of in that interrogation scene?
Well, the interrogation scene is a mixture of things I experienced. There's like Shakespeare in Love. The original authors actually are connected to their work through passionate connections where the work kind of emulated in their life to trigger certain scenes and turn it into art. And it's interesting that Hollywood says they're basically life imitating art, the work. And so the first scene that was ever written that I wrote was the interrogation scene. The first scene that was shot by the Wachowskis was the interrogation scene. And that's like what I said, you'll find my high school as the birthday in that first, my high school as the high school for Neo, one of the schools in the first scene, and that's my diploma right there, Central West. So that's Central West High. We call it Central West High.
Bucks County.
Yeah, and you look at the graphic, and you have Central West Junior High. They tweak it to junior high, but as their graphic designer said, Susanna Bolgen, they stacked all these entries. Thomas A, my name. Anderson, Scottish clan name. Birthday, as it was wrong in those records at the time, July 22nd, right on there. Corrected later in Animatrix years later to my exact birthday, 7/2/59. Can't get around it, like you said. And so the shields are running out of ammo to throw. So it's my birthday corrected later as records at that time of the graphic. My name, my dad's name, John A, as Neo's dad. Anderson, our Scottish clan name. Central West, my high school. In the column, it says TA 4099. TA was 40 in 1999. And if you look later in 2003, what they do, the red hands, 4 past the 4, 44, TA was 44 in 2003 when that graphic's done with my exact birthday in the black hands.
All right, so let's drill down on that real quick for a minute there. And again, back out to big picture. There may be people unexposed to this story who are saying, I don't get it. You're saying you're in the movie. Okay, so what is going on is multi-layered. Tom was picked, I believe him on this. Tom was picked to be picked dry, to have the creativity sucked from him. He was written off as done for from the beginning. As a result of him either being killed or imprisoned or institutionalized, he was considered free pickings for creativity. You can't go and put a person's personal identification in a movie like that as a reference. There's another reason to do that, is to seed his information, not just in the Matrix, but across many other pieces of entertainment as a way of getting to him and making him paranoid and making him believe that he can see himself everywhere, that they're also to have him come across as being paranoid. Oh, come on, dude, you're crazy. You see yourself in all these movies. But it is actually a coordinated effort. One, because they think there's no legal recourse that Tom has to see himself all over these movies because they've selected him to be a source of creative energy that they can feed off of, parasite off of, and then he's going to be done with. And surprise, surprise, all these years later, he's still here. But the other thing is to consistently, constantly pick away and work at him and make him feel like he is under a spotlight, under examination constantly. Does that pretty much have it, Tom?
That nailed it. That really nailed it. That got right to the core of it. Ernest Hemingway went through the same thing. He believed the Alphabet Boys, the FBI, were observing him. His friends thought he was nuts for saying it. And they find out later that, yeah, he was being observed by the FBI. Records show now. So what they do is they try to do exactly what you just said. And then they label you paranoid right from the start. Schizophrenic, narcissistic, right from the start, they label all these things where you aren't even aware why it's all going on at first. And you're not aware your work's been stolen. And that's why they bring people like Sophia Stewart in to be first claimants. So the public goes, well, this is all, I've heard this before. And then all the things that are being done with all these inserts in the films, public is supposed to go, oh, that's too much. That's too much evidence. No, I can't absorb that. It's too much. Something's wrong here. And in the Game of Thrones, they even make that clear, and they whisper through their own art. And Tyrion Lannister in the scene with, I think it's Jon Snow, says, the public will only understand a few things, and if you get, basically paraphrased, if you go too far with too much, they'll shut it out. They'll say, we can't handle that. That's exactly what happens. But along with that, with the evidence trails, we've got the submitting attorney, James Boyd, his affidavit. When the supplied attorney who threw our case, if you look online, he'll say he lost his case. Hollywood Reporter, TMZ owned by Warner Brothers, runs these stories. And it's like, no, our evidence was all blocked. They provided their own attorneys, appointing their own judges, which was Pat Robertson's judge, Gary Klausner. While we have the submission letter that was never entered into evidence, 4000 Warner Lane from James Boyd in Norfolk, June 25th, 1993. And you've got even the tracking number and receipt right there, with all these materials submitted, including the music from George Michael. Then you've got my best friend who worked on the fight scenes with me, and he's got the floppy disks from 1993 where the full script was done. Their big battle now after throwing the case is to say he never had a full script. Well, yes, I did. Well, you never had a full script before 1996, because that's when they first put Matrix on the page, 1996. It's like, yeah, you destroyed all our different copies of it, but we had more. And the Copyright Office records it as a 1992 finish, 1993 entry. So, yeah.
I will tell you that I have personally been offered the false trail of Sophia Stewart. If you simply go onto the internet and type in Matrix plagiarized, Matrix stolen, those are the top hits that return. Oh, they were stolen from Sophia Stewart. And there are already interviews out there. The vast majority, I guarantee you, Tom, the vast majority of people have done these interviews really aren't in on the overall story. They're just happy to fall for it. They was presented to them and they would jump right in, especially given that they're given analytics, that they're promoted, they're seeing their numbers jump up with a Sophia Stewart interview versus not so good with other interviews. And surprise, surprise, they react to that. Real quick, Robert Gary Klausner.
Yeah.
He went to, let's see here, it was Loyola High School. That's Jesuit Loyola High School. Then the University of Notre Dame for his bachelor's, and then learn law from the Jesuits at Loyola. He is a evangelical Pat Robertson recommendation to which administration? Bush 40.
Bush. It was Bush. Newsweek referred to Robertson's Law and Justice Center as his dream team. And that was one of the first appointments, was Bush with Robertson putting Gary Klausner in place. And Robertson says he didn't want to be a second-class citizen. He wanted judges in place that would give conservative decisions he wanted to balance against liberal ones, he argued. But really, it was just make decisions favorable that he wanted, the outcome he wanted. And that was supposed to balance the scales. Well, that's not based on evidence. That's just make decisions.
Right.
They want.
Right.
So that's the inside thing going on.
No victories.
Gary Klausner was the first one picked. Yeah.
Wow. No victories to American Christians, evangelicals, patriots, only frauds that are there to twist and corrupt key decisions. Right. The same thing with the so-called American Center for Law and Justice. And I did not know this about supposed Messianic Jew, Jay Sekulow, that he was a failed salesman.
Yeah, in Florida, failed salesman. Fraudulent. And so that's why Robertson picks failed people. Hollywood does this a lot. The Wachowskis failed at everything they did. Their mom said all they did was play video games. And so they failed their painting contract business. They failed at school. And then Dean Laurentiis whining and dining them, promising beautiful women, fame, and fortune. Why? They don't have a body of work that's ever really been done of their own.
Puppets. They're puppets. Each and every place. They are never meant to give substance. They are only there as puppets and patsies. They play the same game with the National Rifle Association and Roman Catholic Wayne LaPierre, who was designed to be a puppet from the beginning and to fold at all the critical junctures. And now they have Roman Catholic Oliver North and whoever it is now. The same plan. I've said this again and again. I'll use the guy that plays you in many movies, Tom Cruise, and his Jeremy Maguire. Show me the money. When have we had victories from these frauds, whether in the religious community or in the political community? Time and again, they have served up defeat after defeat.
They're there to serve themselves, to enrich themselves. And you're absolutely spot on again. They allow these defeats, like in my situation, to profit off of it and to get evidence and be able to watch out for whatever might come at them. So they want to represent you. They want to lift you and own the trail of your journey, so they can also glean and garner and destroy and alter and make sure
feed off of you. Right. Sophia Stewart is to me, honestly, and I may not have all the facts, but the facts I have seen, I'm getting this vibe that she is just another cockroach parasite to attempt to manipulate you like a Jesuit confessor and tell you that you are the reason that your two sons are dead is a special kind of disgusting individual.
She was right there at the beginning. She was right there on the phone getting her lieutenant, or that number one guy who is now talking to me again and sharing information about her. And so she was right there to handle, saying, like, Tom Althouse, this is Tom Althouse, your life is over, you know it, you're famous now, the line they always use. And then it's supposed to rope you in. Then they said, like, you can claim Matrix 2 and 3, I'll claim 1, and you're the missing link. The reason they did that was the consistency of the cabal and the Hollywood studios wanted to make sure the case was thrown. If Matrix 1 wasn't claimed, then they could say, as they did, well, any matchups in Matrix 1 don't count, so therefore there's no matchups.
Again, big picture. To not lay claim to Matrix 1 is to disassociate you from the impetus of the entire genesis of ideas.
That's right.
Matrix 1, yeah, okay, let me give you Matrix 1 and I'll take 2 and 3. How does that not destroy any association you have with creating all of it in the first place? No brainer. Absolute no brainer.
And their attorneys, they planted, made sure that there's no way I could claim it. And I've got text after text and deposition texts where they would not allow me to claim it and wouldn't allow me to say it was my attorney that made that decision.
We can do a whole show just on Tony Rankin alone, how he was presented to you in the same way that Rebecca Northcutt was presented to you, came to you. Guys, if you step back and you listen to Tom's story, it's a horror story. It gives me chills just talking about it, how people pop up and present themselves in ways that are so appealing that there's no way you wouldn't pass them up. Lawyers today, the average lawyer, I have tried to use lawyers, $400 an hour. And you get a lawyer coming up and saying, this is my specialty. I'm going to invest $100,000 in you to make you win. And his job is to go in, be an insurgent, find out what you know, and tear it all down.
That's exactly it. Alter evidence, destroy evidence, take evidence, and demand.
Destroy evidence. Find your evidence and destroy it like it's like a movie, like some sort of espionage movie.
While they call you delusional and all this stuff, while they're hammering you at your own depositions. And keep in mind,
I myself have done a poor man's copyright. They use this turd and his assistant to go in and destroy the validity. A poor man's copyright is simply to take your original, put it in and register, mail it to yourself, have it sealed and put it on a shelf so that if needed in time of emergency, in legal proceedings, break it out. You let the judge open the seal, you pull it out and boom, there's your time sealed proof. And this piece of crap and his assistant snuck around behind your back and destroyed that as a piece of evidence.
Right. They had dinner at my house, the plaintiff attorney, demanding to see all the evidence. Then he said he had to take a phone call. And yeah, I was very trusting. I left the room and he tore it open. What's interesting is that affidavit I showed you, he claimed he called James Boyd of Norfolk and that James Boyd of Norfolk had nothing. James Boyd of Norfolk had everything. I was willing to testify, but that was not entered in the case. None of this was entered in the case. And so what's interesting is that he is able to alter the poor man's packet, rip it out, take the script out, and make 8 pages of scribbled notes in there with a story treatment with the first page missing. Because when he ripped out the notarized statement too, they want to go all out, they took the first page, which was on the back of the story treatment. Then they reinserted it at the depositions. But what's interesting is he totally tore it apart, but he took the poor man's patent that was made after James Boyd, who testifies here, submitted the full script. So how would I make a poor man's patent after James Boyd submits the work I give him that includes only 8 pages scribbled notes when James Boyd preceding it submitted a full script with everything? Doesn't make any sense, does it?
Wow. Yeah, this is the brilliant lawyer, the Raymond Burr Ironside brilliant lawyer that took your recorder from you and put it in his pocket and allowed his recorder and gave you back his recorder.
That's
so
right.
You can get all kinds of phenomenal. Yeah, not eligible. Came to you now. When was he? When he was with you, he was not even eligible to practice law. That's fraud.
2.5 years. Yeah, full 2.5 years. He's running out the statutes. That's why he's there, and he's not licensed. And so the attorneys for Warner Brothers covering for him said, "Well, he's just a family friend." No, I didn't know who he was, but he was the landlord of the honeypot wife before they.
That's got to be clear criminal behavior right there.
They're afraid of going to jail. They've already made that clear that they're afraid of the federal charges when this comes out in the documentary, that it could all turn on them. And I was advised to do the documentary now. Don't do any more court cases until that's done and the public's educated and judges that they plan are too afraid to then make their moves. That was advised to me by top people. So that's what we're doing. Educate the public documentary. And I got a call from San Francisco just not last night. They're very nervous, where a guy who's connected in Hollywood, I can see the number, was saying, I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. I said, yeah, that's right. And it's like, so then he tries to say that, given the unlikely chance that you're actually telling the truth, they're sending plants now because they ran out of plants. And it's like, we know how to read them. We know the cards, we know the flags, and it's too obvious. So I get these dialogues with these guys just like, listen, I know what's going on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you get someone else calling you with that creepy, distorted voice. Come on, stop playing games. Stop playing games. Let me back out again and burrow down because I have notes on this. This concept of Tom seeing himself in movies, in The Matrix, and across several other movies. This is tested. The FBI has done this to innocent men to entrap them, to encourage them to crack, maybe even to commit suicide. And as I shared with you, Tom, the example of the guy that they blamed, Bruce Ivins, the man that they blamed. Okay, so very few people, almost no one, none of my flying monkeys in my audience believes the official story of 9/11. Okay, and this is a pattern that they have. When they'll boot up a smoke screen, like an ink screen, like an octopus, an ink screen, they'll commit an unbelievable, heinous false flag like 9/11, and then on the heels commit another false flag as a distraction. This is exactly what they did with the Russian-Ukraine war. The Russian-Ukraine war is an extraction false flag out of the pandemic, the scamdemic. Same thing with the anthrax letters. They went after, what is Hatfield's first name? I've got it here, but I've got a lot of notes here. A guy that they framed, Stephen Hatfield, for the anthrax letters. He was too strong. He actually had family around him to bolster him and keep him going. He didn't break. They blamed him for these anthrax letters, which, by the way, they sent to two corrupt Roman Catholic senators, Tom Daschle and Patrick Leahy Leahy. So had it all connected. And then they fingered this poor guy. His picture alone tells you everything about his vulnerability, Bruce Ivins, and they were able, with overwhelming, they got this guy fired, they got this guy ruined, and surprise, surprise, whether he did it by his own hand or someone did it for him, committed suicide. This is the mirror tactic that they have applied to you, Tom, and I just wanted to give that to the audience to let them know this is not the first time that they've done this.
Oh, yes, that's right. There just was another 302 attempt just a couple days ago, where 302 is they can claim through a bought family member who's actually psychotic themselves. So they'll say, you get all these rewards. They'll start bragging about the rewards. They'll keep doing this, where they'll say, oh, he says that he's going to shoot his son, or he's going to shoot me, and that he's going to commit suicide. What kind of phone conversation was that? It's like, that has not happened. They don't check the phone records. They simply haul you off in tandem with that. And in my sister's case, she's got a Brian Fitzpatrick, who's the lifelong FBI operative from Wilshire Boulevard, Hollywood, the FBI building. And he's also Pennsylvania congressman, handling my sister, giving her rewards. My sister brags that Secret Service will be employed to bring me down, that this congressman hates you. He's also the congressman who's used in disrupting Ukraine. So it's like, that's how big this gets. The more you're worth in their view, money-wise, monetarily wise, and influence wise, then they're going to send more people at you.
This is Brian Fitzpatrick, a homosexual Irish Roman Catholic who was given his congressional seat from his brother, Michael Fitzpatrick. Again, we have this corrupt cabal feudalism. And here he is. Do I have a wide screen? Here he is with Julie Zarko promoting her, an unlicensed school teacher who's now one of the most powerful psychiatrists certainly in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, she's the top one now, president of psych people in Pennsylvania. She is number one thanks to Fitzpatrick. She gets black tie dinners, appearances on CNN as a spokesperson when she's that's owned by Warner Brothers. Trips to the Mediterranean, trips to London, trips to New York. Unlicensed elementary school counselor on a salary like that, and divorced. And she gets maid service where they even do the floorboards. She brags. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
It is a disgusting weakness, Tom. It is a despicable weakness to, as you recounted for other interviews, to cry on your shoulder as she dances with you at your wedding and saying, if it weren't for you, I'd be dead. And to be bought, to be part of a system, to stand by and we're going to get into your sons shortly, to see your sons be murdered. And rather than to be filled with outrage at the murder of her nephews, to turn around and join the machine because she's been bought and use them to try and break you, it is beyond despicable. It is beyond despicable.
Well said. That's the call I got. The call, I didn't hear from her for 2 years because the playbook is cut you off once you're bought. She did. She cut me off. And then wouldn't even call on birthdays. But what happens is then when Sean is murdered, my one son, Sean, is killed, she calls me that day, the day of his murder. So she called me fresh when I just found out. And she's saying, instead of condolences, no condolences, she's saying, Tom, you have to say you're angry, bipolar, and suicidal. Say it back to me, or you don't have me as a sister anymore. Well, that's so they can then set up and say in the public, oh, he was suicidal and dangerous and everything. That's what they're doing. They're trying to set it up so they can get you later and say, oh, look, well, my sister gets more airtime that she's hungry for and goes, oh, yeah, he said these things. Therefore, case closed.
Yeah, especially with the premise that as soon as you admit that to her, she can also red flag you, 302 you, call law enforcement, have them show up, and all they need is the slightest provocation. Oh, he was dangerous. Don't even have one. Pull up their own drop gun and just throw that down after they murder you on the scene. Say, yeah, he was dangerous. He was distraught. We have the proof that he was distraught, and we had to take him out.
And what's more filling too is they were going to take my son out. She was claiming that I was going to kill my son. So the thing is that they would have taken Aiden out, the last male heir that was a witness to who his dad really was. And he's a genius. He's an incredible kid, taking advanced placement classes for college. He's like soccer, the piano. He's an intellect. He's going into robotics and engineering. He just made it to his 16th birthday. I never thought he'd see it because of what they've been doing and threatening.
So many layers to this, Tom. Can we back out? Let's see here. What comes first? Okay, obviously what comes first. Wow. Let me go back to your time and at CBN and your first marriage. And again, I only want to go probe as deep as you are comfortable with going and recounting these painful memories. Your first wife, Nancy States, I believe is her name, correct? Okay. Connected to Robertson is a Robertson sycophant, and Jim you believe was handed to you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was told I had to marry her or else. She wasn't who I was interested in. And she flirted with every busboy and everything in town, including my dad and my brother. So it was like I didn't want to be with her. I didn't want to be with her. And I was told that if I didn't get with her, I would lose all my inheritance. Everything would be taken. I'd be cut out from the family.
And you had a significant inheritance to lose.
That's right.
Wow. So you build a life with Nancy States, who becomes Nancy Althouse. Was she in the military?
She was as a reward afterwards. She actually flunked out of Einstein Medical. She flunked out of Messiah College. And I actually did her papers and helped her excel since I was stuck with her. And meanwhile, she flirted with everybody under the sun. It was just a nightmare, absolute nightmare. I actually cried at my wedding. I cried because I was very distressed and sad that I had to marry this person that was she looked like Corporal Klinger from MASH. She really did. So they picked a real.
It is. Let me tell you something. Your next wife, Rebecca Northcutt, there's no doubt in my mind when you say honeypot, it is absolutely out of a James Bond espionage movie where they took someone of ill repute and plugged them in. Same thing. You and I shared thoughts about the 1990, The Matrix, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Matrix, plugged you in with the exception of she was a dark brunette, the reverse of the Sharon Stone character. But there's no doubt. And if that is the case, if Northcutt was absolutely a person of ill repute that birthed you a son as a game, as a fraud, as theater, and then abandoned you both, are you kidding me? Then there's definitely substance to the possibility that Nancy States was the same.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I haven't really had a normal marriage yet. I am in a marriage where it's based on love. It's been gaslighting marriages. And it's been very, very sad because with Northcutt, you find out that she's actually related to me. She didn't tell me that. Wow. She's part of the Strong family line from the same place the Strongs came from in Georgia. And so I have a person selected to be with me. It's like that movie, Tom Jones or something. It's like they picked this character who actually had a criminal record, like you said, criminal record, for prostitution, had been in jail, ex-con, all these warrants outstanding throughout her marriage. She didn't tell me that. She said she was pristine, sleeping around with everybody under the sun, and she's related to me. So
they got wiped, and they got wiped after she crushed and abandoned you.
Yeah. So the landlord for her had been
was Rankin,
so they can have the connection.
Was Rankin. Unbelievable. And the two of them presented themselves to you. They were put up to it. Unbelievable. Yeah. Okay. So let's see, 2009, the statute of limitations runs out
on Matrix because it's 1999. You get 10 years to discover within that frame. And so that's why Rankin comes along to make sure that, and the honeypot wife, that I do not get to claim it. But then they'll run out the statutes after that, any chance. And then they'll use that against me saying you waited too long and you lied to us.
Play you.
So yeah, so it was Rebecca Northcutt that actually made sure. Now she's Becca B. Lynn. And get this, Pat Robertson in Virginia Beach, after she goes back to Mike Lang and throws the case and goes back to Mike Lang of Disney, who has an email that we still have struck from our devices, but was on external storage that says, Becca, move in with me for 60 days. That's Mike Lang on my birthday, July 2nd, right, saying for the movie mogul, saying, move in with me to this expensive property in Spokane, Washington, that I own, the most expensive historic property, like Joel Silver owned the Venice post office. Yeah. So
I just have to say, I have to step back and become a soldier again, just for a minute, because I've heard you tell the story again and again. I just want to say real quick on your behalf, this is not Tom talking. This is me talking. And forgive me, I don't know if Aiden's there, if he can hear this. I will use some soldier language right now, real quick. This concept, the way that Lang handled this, who the fuck do you think you're Caligula? Are you who do you think you are? Going picking a senator's wife? I'm going to sleep with you. I'm going to own you. Now, I know that even though that Northcutt was presented to you as a honeypot, as a person of ill repute, this obviously hurt you. You talk about it in almost any interview. I'm telling you, Tom, any one of these makes this real. This is blood by their rules. Their rules. You don't go into someone's house and violate their wife in front of them. You don't murder one and then another son. You don't steal their life. Any one of these is game on, just so you all know. And you do all know that, which is why Spielberg put in the Minority Report and pre-crime and, oh my goodness, we got to stop him. And don't worry, Tom is a good Tom Cruise is a good guy. In the end, he's not going to take justice for himself. He's going to let it play out. Let me tell you guys something. You already know this. You play this kind of cutthroat game and it is game on. That's just me. As I hear about this, as I feel, as I resonate with your pain, I've been dying to say that to Lang as they're watching. Who the fuck do you think you are, Caligula? Are you kidding me? These people, unbelievable. Do you know, Tom, around the month in 2009 that the statute of limitations ran out? This is important.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know the work was really stolen. And it's like, it was Rebecca Northcutt that came up to me and said, honey, look at this. Look at this. You got to see this. Here's the little girl pointing the sun. Here's the train station scene with the little girl at the train station scene. I'm like, oh my God, that's my stuff.
Early in the year, late in the year, middle of the year, do you know?
2009, end of it, right when the statute's
end of the year.
Right when it's running out. So they wanted to make sure I knew at the end of statute of limitations so that I could make a move at the end so they could run the clock out and then be done with it and then take all the materials through a false representation and a false contract and a guy who's suspended license and make sure that they can get all my materials, alter it, change it, destroy it, because they had no working drafts for the Matrix. They needed my materials fully. And each of the defendants announced their work as soon as the case was thrown in 2014. They all announced their work. Jill Silver, Oblivion with Disney. Sense8, Wachowski's Netflix. And they even said it's too big to write down. They didn't even write anything down. They got $1 million deal with Netflix, where the attorneys for Warner Brothers then transitioned over to Netflix.
And the push to this. Oh yeah, by the way, do I have that on Lang when he disappeared and went into like Nova Scotia or some crazy shit?
Yeah, that's the funny thing with Mike Lang is that they ran an article the same time Joel Silver was leaving Warner Brothers when I was coming forward, where I was telling the supplied attorney that I wanted to talk to the judge because I want to get this right. So it backfired on him. So at that point, Lang leaves and Joel Silver leaves. Now, Mike Lang, what they're doing, they have a double for Mike Lang, who's from Southern California. How many billionaires are from Southern California? Right? How many? It's like, how many Mike Langs that are billionaires are from Southern California? One. Then how come there's a double going on here? There's a double going on here where they're claiming that, oh, this Mike Lang, who's from Southern California, who's the billionaire who bought this most expensive property and said to Northcutt that she's going to buy Mount Zion National Park, a resort there. That would cost a pretty penny, because that's her favorite park. It's like, how is it then they say that, oh, no, he's an electrician in Spokane, Washington? Really? A billionaire electrician from Southern California named Mike Lang? Well, they have Mike Lang of Disney from Southern California, who's a billionaire, and it's like there's only one existing on paper. So look how they do this double dance all the time. They do this double dance. That's why Rebecca Northcutt, her name was changed to Becca B. Lynn, soft porn star model name.
Wow.
So now she's a double for her. In
Wow.
case of litigation, they can send their paperwork to the wrong party, and they'll frustrate the attempts of the plaintiffs. What
layer of mind control, psyop, and inception. By the way, the Jesuits love, what's his name? Christopher Nolan's brilliant work on Inception. Again, that you believe that this is taken heavily from your work.
Right, from the pitch session. Yeah.
The Jesuits love to sit in the confessional and hear someone give them their guilt and their fears and then manipulate them with it, just like is brought out in the movie.
My main handler from CBN was Bob, what's his name? Robert Scheel, a former Jesuit Catholic priest. And he was part of the sex ring when Dr. Sova, he's now at Liberty University, Jerry Falba, with the communication department. In that sex ring, the one that approached me sexually on the trip with Pat Robertson's organization was a repeat offender. We have the letter of claiming that he was wrong for what he did. No one's ever supposed to see this letter that was given to Harry Sova. No one's supposed to see this letter because it says he was wrong for the homosexual things and everything else, all these signatories. But the thing is that he said that Bob Scheel, that Jesuit Catholic priest, was grooming me for his sex ring, and that how he was going to be angry that now I was Harry Sova's boy on this trip and alone in a motorhome, where he said that it goes all the way to the top, and it's common knowledge with Pat Robertson that Pat Robertson's involved in the sex ring. And so I was being groomed not only as a face of the Christian Coalition to be Robertson's #1 plaything. And if you see my face, what I looked like back then, even at 31, I look like I'm 12. So there's a very good correlation between how it lined up between me and Ralph Reed.
Bob Shield, just like the
Bob Scheel, Scheel, Robert Scheel. News site, Robertson's organization. He actually, one thing Sova said was he has a toupee, he's a toupee. No one's supposed to know he has a toupee. Apparently me saying he has a toupee is the calling card to let you know it's legit that I'm talking about with them, because Sova kept saying he was very upset that anyone would know he had a toupee, whatever.
All right, let me back out again. Big picture.
So pool parties, things like that with young boys, young men. That's what you're brought into when you go there. That's why in the screenplay, the train station scene is talking about that. The original train station scene you'll see in the reconstituted movie after the documentary, you'll see the real film made, Morals. And the train station scene is about that child trafficking and also adults being brought in, like grad students. It's actually a grad student is brought in thinking there's a better life in the program when all is entering.
And instead they're handing their children off to the very machine that's going to traffic them. Please spare my child. And they're giving it to the very machine that takes the child. And very similar to Snowpiercer, the Netflix movie with Chris Evans, that the train that runs around the Arctic Earth is running with children in the engine compartment. Okay, Northcutt, Rankin, I'm in for $100,000 to see justice on your behalf. How do you turn that down? Let's see here. Northcutt changed her name after leaving Aiden. Becca Lee Lynn, Hispanic, Irish, dark descent, criminal record, which was expunged for her. Berkeley lawyer Rankin. They're all in the Berkeley clique together. Rankin of Maui, associate's attorney to throw the case, was Northcutt's landlord handler. Went back to Lang in Southern California for Disney on Disney's behalf. Did you know that Disney was run by a collared Jesuit priest, Leo O'Donovan, the same Jesuit that swore in Joe Biden?
Didn't know that.
Tony Rankin went to law school with the attorney representing Warner Brothers, Linda Burrow of Caldwell, Leslie and Proctor. What the heck is a transgender firm, Tom?
Well, they said it. They say it on their site. The transgender firm means they're friendly and employ transgenders, and I think Linda Burrows was one.
It is hilarious that your pressure upon the frauds of the Wachowskis has forced Warner Brothers to take their agenda. Now, again, let me back out big picture. The transgender agenda is critical to them because they fear young, determined men and women, but mostly men who are disciplined, who have self-control, who will not be guided by their sex drive, and still have the maturity and the control and the drive to get up in the morning, to grind away at the job every day, to come home, to put their children first, to put their wife first, to put their pets first, to sit down and eat last. I'm getting a chill just talking about it. To be, as I was trained, to be a real leader. The unit leader is the absolute last one to go to bed, the absolute last one to eat. Mel Gibson, another connection we're going to talk about. The first one to get off the helo and the last one to get back on the helo. So critical. This is what they fear, and this is why the transgender agenda is so critical. They want to destroy that. They want to ruin any possibility of a future revolt and rebellion. And it is just so richly ironic that your pressure would force this upon particularly Andy, because apparently Larry loves to play the game. And here's what you shocked me. No surgery involved, just a bunch of wigs and dresses. And it's all a game that you forced upon them. Warner Brothers, hey, guess what? You're girls now.
Yeah, that's right. It's really wild because, Johnny, what's interesting is in the original screenplay, again, the things they lifted, you have genderless females in here. But it's important to the story and propels the story along. The genderless females are not to promote an idea of change your body at pre-adolescence and adolescence. No, it's about people that are so terrorized and put upon outside the program, molested and torn up, that they actually scar themselves, genitalia scarred, in order to protect themselves from being abused any further.
Now, Andy, now I love these pictures because if you will notice that Andy really took his time to make this transition because he hates it. And I want to accent that. He feels humiliated and he should be humiliated to play this game. If you look him up, you're not going to see very many pictures of him in drag because it humiliates him. And I find this hilarious. I want to drive this home. Yeah, he's breaking. Look at Larry and how much they spent on making him look good, and look at his pictures before the transition, and he's an aging guy. He's not attractive, and he looks awful. And so how is it done that he's made out to be this look? That's a lot of money spent to redo him. Like, look at some of these other pictures of him, and he is not like any of those in the middle section where you're on right now, like that one. That's Larry. And to think that that's going to be a beautiful woman, they spent so much money on him. And that's what's unfair to youth, thinking, oh yeah, I'll do this, I'll change. They're not going to have the surgeries that are going to help them look the way they are unless they got a ton buttload. Oh my goodness, how satanic, Tom, to have these frauds play at it and not have anything irreversible happen to them, to sucker kids into irreversible surgeries. Absolutely satanic.
It is very much so.
Okay, back out. Let's see, Lang. Pardon my language. Sorry for that. There's something Tom, they want to play these primordial games. They want to own your spouse. It's game on then. It's game on. You want to play this? You want to tap this?
Where Mike Lang made the biggest mistake of taking the wife to bed, or the author's wife to bed. And I asked one of the contacts, it's on
your birthday. On your birthday.
Yeah, on my birthday. That's where the emails are. And then they were struck from our devices, but it was on our external storage.
How did so it was remotely hacked off of your devices?
The little green robot, everything disappears. All the pictures of Mike Lang were gone.
Remotely hacked and deleted off your device.
We had an expert tech come out, 2 expert tech, and he showed me that the signal was coming from Spokane, Washington, locked in. He showed me that. We have proof of it, stills of it from our computer, where it shows Spokane, Washington active on my account. He was manually doing it right from his own place, striking our stuff. It was shown, and the expert tech showed me. And every time we tried to change the password, it was being changed from Spokane. He said the encryption that was on my site was so big, it was military tech. It was like high level. He couldn't even mess with it. Couldn't change the password.
And this is what we're facing. But you know what? It's a house of cards. Again, Washington, Spokane, Seattle, Jesuits, Microsoft, all of that, and very, very left wing.
Well, keep in mind too, I asked the contact on tape, why did he do this? Why did he take the wife to bed? What's the point? She answers very clearly, crisply, ego. It's his ego. So what Mike Lang did was let it trail right back to Disney because of his ego. Sure, primordial, like you said. He takes the wife to bed. That's supposed to make you better than the author because you're sleeping with his wife. No, it was a planted wife. Have her, take her. I'll find somebody better that comes along in my life. When this is done, and Aiden will have a mom that's really cool and classy, not someone who's a prostitute. And so go ahead and take her, Mike Lang. But he just let it trail right back to Disney. We would never have made the connection with all the harass going on and duress. That Disney was the one that was the flagship with Robertson to make sure all this happened. That's
as stupid as the milquetoast emperor stealing the love interest of a gladiator and thinking that by possessing her, he has the power of the gladiator. Don't work that way, clowns. It don't work that way.
Bond is cut. That bond's cut, and you can have them. Thanks for doing me the service and exposing that. So yeah, and the wife that actually will come in my life, which I've had offers now, but I'm not going to do anything until my son's done with this and safe, and we finish the documentary and that kind of stuff. I appreciate the attention, but that's not my goal. My goal is to get this job done so others don't go through it.
Let me tell everyone in Tom Althouse's orbit. Number one, you need to be stable. You need to be solid. You need to be grounded, particularly from my perspective in Jesus Christ. You need to be there for Tom as a friend. You want to connect with Tom, then you be there for him as a friend. And no relationship, if you want a future romantic relationship, you bond yourself in friendship for years. You invest years in friendship, and then you will be inseparable when the time is right. Well, that's how you prove that you want to show that you want to do Tom right, that you are attracted to Tom. You show that level of strength and connection above anything physical, and then you'll be inseparable later on. That's just a fact of human relationships. Disney owned Miramax, but sold in 2010. Lang resigned as CEO from Miramax in 2012. Resume includes Knight of Malta, Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, and intelligence gathering MySpace. Harvey and Bob Weinstein struck out on their own in 2005. I believe that this was with him leaving Miramax, and the machine protection of Miramax was one of the reasons why he was targeted to be the smokescreen, and that's another, the Tom Althouse dot connector. Harvey Weinstein, smokescreen, dispensable, expendable Jew, smokescreen for the Me Too movement, all related to Tom Althouse and his story. That November in 2016, Discovery Networks International appointed Lang to lead its Nordic region of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland to get him as far away from the frying pan as possible. Development Digital Discovery Nordics. Are you kidding me? All right, let's see. Robertson and Valenti and Johnson. Perhaps that Nancy was. Is it possible that Nancy was intended to be a beard for you in the same way that Jack Valenti of Warner Brothers fame was a beard for Johnson's mistress, who gave Johnson Courtney Valenti that ran Warner Brothers and stepped down as a result of this controversy.
Well, look at the replacement wife that was supposed to be Stephanie Tanner, who was a friend of Becca, came to me, and I have these recordings now of her where she just came to me saying, I have a red pill for you. I'm not supposed to talk to you yet. My sister and I were pre-programmed at the University of Berkeley, where Rankin and Burroughs and all them came from, in their Ultra K program. And so I don't even know who I am, but I'm supposed to be with you. I'm jumping the gun. I'm supposed to replace Becca. My husband was the author of Napoleon Dynamite. He just disappeared. I'm going to marry you. I'll treat you gently. Come out to Idaho. We'll raise alpacas together. By the way, I didn't want to tell you this, but my brother-in-law is the head of Warner Brothers Legal, Patrick, from Columbia University, who actually was involved in stealing your property and ripped off the Superman family. So you'd be having Thanksgiving dinner with a guy who destroyed your life.
Dangle it right in front of you, Tom. Dangle right in front of you. Now to get into some really difficult topics. 2009, they waited for this. Were they attempting to push you into giving up by murdering Kirk Dangle in 2009, in June of 2009?
Yes, they're trying to create a shockwave where you're then supposed to turn to your honeypot wife and rely on her. Honey, let me bury myself in your arms. It's that kind of thing. And so they have your comfort set up, your comfort mechanism, while they have your control mechanism. Everything's in place like a spider in a web, where they hit you as hard as they can. You're supposed to crumble into their control. And that's what they did. Even Aiden's godfather is Tony Lavoie of Peak and Lavoie Properties. And he's Italian mafia, basically. He became Aiden's godfather, has nothing to do with him now, and was sleeping with Becca. So he was part of the control system that was going on. So they own you, they control you, they buy your family, and then you're just putting their hands, they think. And they'll run the statutes out and they'll blast you, and your honeypot wife will then leave you for the other man, making that very public or very clear to you.
To emasculate you, to attack your masculinity, attack your manhood, and to do it in front of, to admit in front of Aiden that she was a serial adulterer during that time.
Yeah, and then cut him off because he won't accept that as a good thing.
Yeah, definitely for his greatest good. There's no doubt about that. I have the so Kirk Dangle was an expert swimmer. And was in a lab pool in Misawa Air Base in Japan, visiting his mother. What is his mother doing on base in Japan?
Right. Well, she was given all kinds of rewards after she did all the screwing up of our situation. And what's interesting is she was saying how Kirk's a problem. He's not listening to me, this kind of stuff. So she had sent a message that she can't control him anymore. Kirk wanted to talk to his dad. And so Kirk had spilled to me exactly what went on with Robertson's group, how there was these sessions where he was told if he didn't believe his dad was evil, these sessions wouldn't stop. And he saw his brother and sister get turned. And so that's when Kirk had to go, apparently, because he had shared with his dad what had finally happened and what was going on. And that was a no-no. He was never supposed to talk to his dad.
Sessions with Robertson's group. Can you say a little bit more about that?
He had he called them social workers that were working for Nancy, they said. And so what happens was the children were kidnapped basically, and given these reprogramming sessions under her, these Robertson's social worker, to believe their dad was narcissistic, danger with a gun. Everything was in that letter that was given to me that Robertson wrote. Like, here's Pat Robertson's letter and his own signature saying basically dangerous and crazy with a gun. And so that's what he was pushing. And so what these children were being taught that too. So no child would be supportive of their dad or speak well of them. And so that's why they brought the daughter to the 9th level, because later in life, they provide Rios and Associates, one of the defense attorneys from the University of Berkeley that threw my case after Rankin. His relative, Jacob Rios, he's Ralph Rios, Jacob Rios from Texas, marries the daughter.
Your daughter.
Yeah, and he never worked in his life, part of the Mexican mafia. And so what you have is that's how far it went. Well, I'll never see my sister's daughter again. And she trashes me online. That's the little girl in the Matrix. That's the little girl in the end. That's why that scene's so important. The train station, the little girl hugging the daddy.
Bring the family back together.
And so, and so she was given through Nancy and them reprogrammed. Kirk said she was the first to turn, believing their dad was bad, even though she had said to me just prior, don't give up, daddy, keep trying no matter what happens to me. She was 5 years old at the time. And so they do these reprogramming sessions. Robertson headed it with his social workers, and Nancy benefited from it. So all her friends are now CBN Liberty University.
That's the impetus. So they did it when the kids didn't have authority over themselves. They were still children. And Nancy States told them they had to go through these sessions. And this was her reward. Captain in, is it the Air Force? An Air Force captain, probably rose higher than that.
When she went in like 40 or 50 years old. They don't recruit you to be a captain when you're that old, but they did. And the same thing happened to one of the planted attorneys, who's very interesting. Robertson's one of his top attorneys, is actually named Damian T. Horn. He changed his name to Damian T. Horn. Then he explained why, and I think you got it already. The Omen. So here's a man who changed his name to the Antichrist in the Omen, Damian Thorne, is representing Robertson's group. And he's the one that made sure that our one situation was thrown. And so it's like, you can see what's going on here. It's like, and he was given a position also. He's like the oldest man to be reinstated into special forces with honors, with all these publicity after he threw our situation. See? So Nancy States gets to be a captain in the Air Force when she's too old for it. And Damian T. Horn gets to be reinstated in special services, special forces, when he's too old for it, like the old shoe from Wag the Dog. And that was corresponding rewards, right? That's not all. When Becca throws everything, Pat Robertson has to get his lick in there as part of the cabal. So guess what opens in Virginia Beach, where Robertson is? A 5-star restaurant. Now it's called My Becca. And Becca's email that she gives out to her clientele, which is lovers and also for her hypnotherapy crossover clients, is My Becca at such and such.
Hypnotherapy. This was not. It wasn't some of the charges on her prostitution. She was probably running some sort of massage parlor where she was taking care of people sexually and so forth.
Yeah, she left her journal entries, which was so stupid. She left these pages out that said she would be with that guy. And when her actual son, Stone, who's out of marriage with this other flat key guitarist on Oahu, Hawaiian guy, she wanted to be with him so bad, Pei. And it's like, it goes on and on about wanting to be with him. And so I was just to be used. And then when Stone turned 18, she would be traveling with him and we'd be X'd out, Aiden and I both. And so that's exactly how she worked it as part of her agreement with Mike Lang and Warner Brothers. And so that's what her journals say, is that she would have her lovers as clients and have these offices so that she can then have her lovers as clients throughout the duration of our marriage.
I tell you, I am aghast, and I don't believe I'm as old as I am and still having such a visceral reaction from women who give their bodies to the point of a child as an act. And I'm going to bring up let's bring Harvey Weinstein back up, and this model that clearly after Harvey for love. I mean, how could you not love this guy and this physique who gave him a child? It is.
God help us.
I can't even understand the mindset of a woman that would give her body to that extent, prostitute herself to that extent. I want to go back to Kirk Daniel because,
can I interject something too?
Please do.
Every woman that's come my way that has been like a natural beauty, like Miss America person, things like that, just beautiful women, they're always approached 2 weeks later en masse by these clowns like Harvey Weinstein. There's a guy named Brian Connolly and Mark Colmer on Maui that were sent there to disrupt the life. And they approach any woman that's pretty that came to me, like this Leho Simon was just amazing, the darling of Maui. And she's like in tears saying, I want to be with you, Tom, I want to be with you, when Becca was leaving me. And she's approached en masse being told, don't work with me, he's crazy, dangerous, all this stuff. And so it's clockwork. So any woman that would come in natural events, we would be married and happy. And they're coming to me expressing that. I see your heart, I would never change. I have to tell them, you're going to be approached, you're going to be told all these things. And it's like, it won't affect me. It does. They know how to do it where they'll make it so uncomfortable that they'll plant doubts. That's all they need. So every woman that's been like a good match has been approached. And that's supposed to teach you that you shouldn't even try to socialize.
Tom, just rely on the strength of Jesus Christ. Your time is coming, brother. This is part of the strength. You step back and you look at Tom Althouse. He's just a nice guy. Look at him. He's not an MMA brawler. He's going to collapse. We're going to destroy him. He's going to collapse. And yet somehow, after all of this, your sister, your sons, your life's work, 2 wives, again and again, pounded and pounded and pounded, and here you're still there.
And clinicians and everything. You're right. They hit them hard. They turn them, and suddenly you're being told they're afraid. They're afraid to associate with you. They're afraid, and rewards show up. Yeah, it's the pattern.
And this is how you have won the chess game, is simply surviving, simply hanging in there. I am reminded of my pages of notes, and Atika Ball received the same treatment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she did. She was majorly made to disappear off the radar. If you look her up, you won't find her much anywhere. But the thing was, she wanted to be a star and everything else. And she was the one that was my inspiration, my muse to write the piece, really. She saved my life, and then she pulled the rug on me. But the thing is, I understand there's a lot of factors in there, but Robertson was very afraid of Atika and her family connections. I mean, related to Paul Ryan, Senator
altar boy, Irish Catholic altar boy, Paul Ryan. Unbelievable. And David Boren, connected to David Boren there in Oklahoma. She's Oklahoma State born. Yeah. They gave Boren, Oklahoma born, Phi Beta Kappa, Rhodes Scholar, lawyer, United States Senator, governor of Oklahoma, sworn in as almost the youngest governor, 33, kept under wraps. Nobody knows that Boren is skull and bones, just like the Bushes. And again, what I have told people again and again, the Paul Ryan connection, Paul Ryan running Congress, repeatedly not giving, actually responsible for maintaining so-called socialized medicine, so-called Obamacare. Okay, betrayed your sister, Julie Zarko. Listen, I don't want to, I do want to get back to this and not to pick at a wound, but I want to tell the audience that a cursory examination from anybody involved in the military will show just the blatant breaking of standard operating procedure and how poor Kirk Daniel was taken care of in relation to this drowning accident by an expert swimmer in a lap pool with a lifeguard. That's the story is, and your sister had the story that he told the lifeguard, I'm going to practice holding my breath. And your lifeguard said, oh, okay, I'm going to go get a sandwich, use the bathroom, go to the head, and I'll be back after that.
Yeah.
And left. Are you kidding me? Whole careers would be done on that. And instead swept under the carpet. And the Stars and Stripes openly admits that Kirk was revived. Yeah. He went from one medical facility and then was moved to another where apparently he died, we can assume was murder. How is that even possible?
Finished off before he could speak. It's almost like Game of Thrones with the kid that fell out of the tower. You know, it's just the same kind of idea. And it's like, that's what's so frustrating is that they never let me see him. They cremate him. They cremated Sean. And I never even get to see the remains.
Yeah, that's also unheard of. Apparently, they just went right to Nancy States and used her as the authority to circumvent you. Unheard of. To just have one parent to say, excuse me, okay, go ahead and cremate them, get rid of the evidence. Shawn Michael murdered. Let me see. Let me get all of the details. Let me pull up and I apologize for getting into this. It's important. It's important to your story.
I'm glad you're doing it because plants are now trying to say that it's a lie. Tom's lying that his sons weren't killed. It's like, come on, people. How far do you want to go?
Okay. In a car accident with apparently a snowplow. What?
Yeah, that's the X-Files thing, I was told. So they made like a movie kill where the other ones was a Mason's kill.
Yeah, absolutely absurd. Okay, folks. So the Meadville Tribune covered Sean's death. And I've archived these. It's why they're PDFs, because I don't trust the internet. Archive them. This is 9 years later, an automobile accident.
On the eyes of March, he's killed when Caesar.
On March 14th, March 15th. Wow, great catch.
On purpose. The days are picked on purpose. That's right after he had the phone call with Aiden and I saying, keep going, Dad, after a hit and run was done to me in Canada. So, and Joel Silver left Altered Carbon, the project Altered Carbon, which has the same premise as my screenplay, my work. And he leaves that work as its producer after the car misses me. And then Sean does a call with me and Aiden saying, be careful, Dad, be safe, and was remembering what happened at Robertson's organization, was starting to remember, and he's murdered the next day.
This is game on, Tom. You can't murder people's blood. You can't cut off their sons and not expect cosmic consequences. Whether Tom is ever in a position to see justice done, it will be done. I shared with you.
Yeah, criminals. There are criminals that are afraid of upcomings, from what's going to happen should I get legitimacy with my work established.
And we're doing it.
Yeah, there's no way it can't be. I mean, hold this. Now they're saying this is a fake. Plants are saying this. How can that be a fake? How can this be a fake? Just ask the people who actually signed that. It's like, who are the supervisor and directors of the Copyright Office. So yeah, so this is the game they're playing, is they're trying to destroy the life, remove every evidence of the male heirs. And that's why Aiden's been under such a threat, and he has just stepped it up and done amazing. And even did that Father's Journey video. He made that where Sophia Stewart again brought in to say, like you said, that you're responsible for your son's death. You're in a cult, and Aiden doesn't exist. And he never made that thing. Well, don't take his credit away too for the work he did. That was really brilliant.
Now you had your website taken down. Where is there a venue where people can go to see things coming from you, things posted for you, Tom?
Well, right now it's basically online. If you go to BitChute, things like that, and see these interviews, keep in mind that Sophia Stewart's interviews aren't struck. She's groomed right inside. Mine are struck all the time. That's one of their telltale signs. Who's actually speaking the truth is watch for who Hollywood and the powers to be with Hollywood and the cabal, what they remove from individuals.
Right. So right now you just recommend that people just surf for your name and your interviews.
That's all I got right now until the new website goes up.
Got to get that back up so that you have control over what represents you and let other people see what they want.
Absolutely. I'm trying to find I think I have a safe platform now that won't be struck. And that's the whole thing, is I want it to be safe. If we're going to invest in this, let's do it right.
Right.
Have it safe. And so
that's
the goal.
When Stewart says you're part of a cult, what the F is she talking about?
Pat Robertson's group. And she's trying to say that I'm the one.
You left.
Yeah, right. It's thrown out of.
And so she's still trying to associate you with that. Oh, I see. Because you haven't given up on being a Christian, so she associates the background and tries to mix it together in some sort of twisted way to slander you.
She's actually written now, or has written for her together, this prophecy as if it's from ancient times, which elevates her to this the light of the world, and Tom as the evil one. She actually has my birthday lined up in this present day prophecy, which is supposed to be from ancient texts, that I'm the son of darkness.
This is what is needed for someone that is so compromised that they have to live in an alternative reality, Tom. This is what she needs for her survival, because she knows she's so effing wrong that she has to twist and invert reality.
Well, they already blew it. You're absolutely right. She blew it because she announced that she was bragging. I have a call from her recorded with Nicholas Jackson, her number one, on that call with her to witness with her mock. But it's like this sing-songy voice. I've got the letter, saying that she's got the way to make sure I'm revealed and she gets the millions and I don't. Come see me get my millions. I've got the letter that shows that you knew ahead of time or something. It's like, what? But so Sophia Stewart is always been there as a handler and a mocker and first claimant in-house, as Nicholas says, as an in-house witch for Warner Brothers. So that's the tactic they use, is to try to control you, handle you, and also barrage you with insults,
Break you
and
down.
try to drive you in the ground. Yeah, that's their goal. But
Again, further proof of this. I'm going to keep you because I've already got you committed for Wednesday. We'll see how we feel. Maybe if depending upon if you have it open, maybe Friday after that, but definitely an ongoing, because there's just so much here, Tom. It's so powerful. I shared with you Shawn Michael murdered in 2018, and the very next year you have the Liam Neeson movie Cold Pursuit, where a father seeks justice for the murder of his son, and he's a snowplow driver.
Right, there you go. That's them rubbing. I just took a picture of that too. That's them rubbing it in. And look at the timing. They time these things so tight together. Like the Wachowskis claim they created the stuff in 93 when I submitted in 93, but they have no working drafts, no body of work. And we got the attorneys for Warner Bros. On tape. Like you said, Rankin gave us the wrong tape recorder back, where he had turned mine off and turned his on and gave the wrong ones matched. And so now we got them saying they have no working drafts, nothing. So it's a moot point to ask for discovery or initial disclosures even, which is fraud on the court. So we're coming
so
back.
Much. Tom, is layer upon layer. The fact that the Wachowskis, the brilliant Wachowskis, cut this movie and first of all did screen tests without a screenplay. No one's even heard of that. Do I have this right, that it was originally offered to Will Smith, and he said, okay, give me the script and I'll read it, and there's no script, and are you out of your mind?
That's
Are
right.
you kidding me?
All he did was talk about how cool it's going to be and everything else. They didn't understand the work. They're lazy. They don't want to write the stuff down. Plus, they didn't like my screenplay. They just wanted it as a vehicle, as Larry said, a ladder, in order to keep him from committing suicide. You know, that he wants to have success, and that was his ladder, he calls it. So yeah, and in 95, there's an article where they said they failed as writers in Hollywood. So if they created this stuff in 93 and it was all seamless, as Warner Brothers said, but then now they're saying that it was all meant to be, Wachowski's, they said it was meant to be different venue styles, different scripts. Well, your attorneys are saying it's supposed to be one seamless thing. Make up your minds. So in 95, they're saying they failed as writers. They'd have to pack their bags and leave Hollywood. Well, that's pretty interesting. Unless they're given a project to direct, and they wanted the science project, and that's what they got. They got my work.
Well, they had something so rich with creativity that how could you fail? And yet there's so much that they missed.
Yeah, they lifted the images they thought were cool, but they ruined the story. They chopped it. Like I said, the train station scene in here has the liquid mirrors. That's the security devices. But they lift every image they think is cool with their simple minds and isolate it, and then add what they're familiar with. Alice in Wonderland becomes the display of the red pill, blue pill. The red pill and blue pill are not offered at the same time in the original work. The red pill is what the deep state offers you. If you don't take it, you and your family die. The blue pill is offered by Underground as a bootleg pill that's painful side effects where you can enter the program. And that's why the blue pill is good and the red pill is bad, based on the blood of the children for longevity and growth hormones. So it's just they took the bad pill and made it good. Now everybody says the red pill.
Let me tell you this intuitively. When I first heard that explanation from you, I was like, that's it. This guy is real. This guy is sincere. I've been telling people for a long time that this game has been played in the political theater in relation to right-minded values versus left-minded values. Left-minded values gravitate towards giving up to a higher authority, making it easier for tyranny and treason to occur, whereas right-minded values encourages people to be more independent, more live for something bigger than you. They're the better values to be plugged into, and therefore they're the more dangerous values, which is why that those who have those values are red state. The phonies in the Republican Party, it's red, and the ones who are easily enslaved, that's blue. It was inverted. I've been telling this to people for years because these are military terms, Tom. On a military map, red is clearly the enemy, green are neutrals, and blue are allies.
That's right. Even in World of Tanks, things like that. And it's interesting because it's like the blue pill, as I say, is the author's eye. They don't like visuals because people can get onto visuals. So keep that visual in mind. Good pill, you're seeing through the author's eye. You're seeing what he's trying to warn you if you take the blue pill. The red pill, bad, blood of the children. They don't like these visuals. That's why they did us a favor, in a sense, striking our website, which Rankins had a strike when they first came to throw the case. He didn't want the evidence out there when the media was really excited about this stuff, the story. And then so what you have now is we're coming forward with a new website. So they did us a service striking the red pill one. Now we're coming out with a blue pill, which is an easy thing to grasp, which will catch on to the public. That's why they're very worried. And that's why that lady Valenti, whatever, resigned after 3 decades of cover-up.
Courtney Valenti, yeah.
Yeah, she resigned after 3 decades of cover-up. And that very day they struck our website, and that's closing the back door. Like I said, they're trying to close the back door on her so she feels safer. But it's a telltale sign.
Right.
They're striking the same day she's resigning.
Yeah, all she did was switch over for another, whatever, 7 digits
Sure.
salary. I have never seen someone get chemtrailed at crop dusting elevation. How did you even capture that on video? Are you kidding me?
What they do is they do 3 passes over your home, and it's only over your home sometimes. And so you'll hear like that real loud over your house. You get your camera, you go outside, and here comes the next pass right over your house. And then they do a drift pattern, one more to the side, so it'll drift your way. And that's how they do it.
You have it on hand? Can you share it at all?
Yeah, sure. So it might be a bit fuzzy, but let me just see if I can get it up here for you. So hold on 1 second. There's the Valenti article.
Spraying toxins point blank on your head and the heads of your loved one.
Yeah, here we go.
Loved ones. And of course, using cover of night.
Hold on. There it goes over top. Now watch this. 1 second. Let me get out of this one. Okay, hold on. You can actually see it spraying very clearly. Hold on a second. Let me just get this. I mean, you see the trail coming out. Okay, 1 second. Is this it? Okay, let me get the other one. Hold on. This is weird because they'll strike stuff off my phone, AT&T.
Right, be patient. Be patient. Take your time.
Yeah, 1 second. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But yeah, I'm seeing Saving Private Ryan here. What Spielberg did with Saving Private Ryan, like you said, with Minority Report, it's incredible. Absolutely.
Yep. And of course, the Saving Private Ryan is Jewish Spielberg kissing the Jesuit ring, all based on the legend of the Sullivans.
Yeah, and putting my son's names in.
Sean and Michael. Daniel.
Daniel.
Kirk, Daniel, and Sean. Yeah. Is it any different, Tom? Is this any different from an acid attack? Would you not have, in a court of law, in an acid attack, that someone responds to an acid attack with deadly force? This is game on. When you get this belligerent to spray toxins on you repeatedly again and again, this is game on. I don't think anyone would have faulted you. Of course, what kind of court are you going to get?
Right.
If you had a firearm, responded by shooting at that aircraft that was dumping toxins directly, repeatedly. Not that I'm saying that was the thing to do, but man, are you kidding me with this?
That's what they want. Yeah, that's what they want to have happen. They keep saying dangerous and crazy with a gun. He's going to kill people. It's like,
right.
Where all my work is about peace and loving and bringing together. There's no way I would ever take my life.
Britney Spears, the camera interface, boom, 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 and then quick grab it as she melts down and attacks one of the paparazzi with an umbrella, breaking a window. That's what they use, and completely miss out how they ramped her up and with constant assault.
Exactly. That's all you would catch. Very brilliant. That's exactly it. They'll only put that segment they want in. That's it. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Let me find a way. There's no easy way to close out so that we can prep up for the next time. I'm just going to keep going on with my notes in this level of corruption. Okay. We covered redpillrising.org being taken down, being hacked, Courtney Valenti, feudal empire. How many times? Marion Gordon, Pat Robertson, number one, turning over the empire to Marion Gordon, Pat Robertson, number two, Gordo Robinson, number two. It's just an evil, malignant, feudal empire.
You'll understand this. Look at his letter and look how he signs his name.
Yeah. I am the great Pat Robertson. I am. The I am is the name of God. It is the name of the burning bush that Jesus Christ himself associated with himself, that he almost got killed because he said, I am the I am, before Abraham was, I am. And this is what Lucifer, he's got to be a full on Satan worshiper, Tom. I don't see any other explanation.
Definitely. It's almost like he's transforming into something else. Like he doesn't even look earthly anymore.
He doesn't. I had it open to see if I can have it quickly. Pull it back up.
It's almost like Gollum.
He doesn't. He looks like. Hang on, let me share this. He doesn't look natural.
That's what evil does to you. Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, if you live your life like my mom said, my sister's starting to look that way too in this latest attempt where she was screaming and raging at my sister. She said she looks totally different now, totally different. Right. Well, if you live that lifestyle, embrace that. She said that my sister said she's into power and success now, not about peacemaking. Well, you're reaping what you sow.
It does transform you, Tom. It absolutely does. You make the initial choices. You choose. I cover this in my third book, Eaters of Children, where my friend David Icke is partially right. It's not full-on shape-shifting reptilians. It is human beings that willingly corrupt, that willingly destroy their divine spark, that willingly get rid of their compassion and their empathy to sell themselves into a system where they gain power by proving that they no longer have compassion, that they no longer have empathy, by attacking a child, by killing a puppy, by killing whatever it is that they have to prove that they no longer have the spark of divinity in them. And it will change that.
Yeah, destroying your brother and bragging about the rewards you're going to get. What it does is it puts you in conflict with yourself. As soon as you start this lie to yourself that you're justified for what you're doing when you choose evil and knowing you're doing evil against others that are innocent, then what happens is your mind is simple where it will want the truth. If you tell your mind a lie that you're actually being good, you put yourself in conflict for the rest of your life. Basically, you're going to be wrestling with yourself, and it'll start to show, that conflict starts to show physically on yourself.
Well, and much more than that, Tom, I will say from my perspective, there are spiritual consequences. There are consequences to your eternal soul. Yeah. There is a judge of righteousness standing outside that you will stand before for having made these decisions. And here's the really sick, twisted part of, we've touched in this. Many of these people now live in an alternative reality. Their fate is sealed. It's like they're trapped in their own minds. They're going to go through the end of their life thinking that they were in the right, that they were doing good things. And in reality, they're unable to go back and see how incredibly obvious it was that they made really, really evil, self-serving decisions. And it's almost like now God has locked them into it.
Absolutely. There's two examples I have right now from this personal story, or the story that's now publicly shared, is that Pat Robertson says that God told him he would win the presidency twice. His attorneys told me that he blames me for the loss of his run because of what happened with Sova.
You're Satan. You're Satan.
Yeah, he says I'm Satan. So the thing is that Robertson's claiming still in his books that he was to win the presidential election, that God told him. Well, now look at the conflict he's in. Now look at my sister. My sister went screaming and raging just recently in a manic way, saying, if Tom's, and we got a picture of a shrill voice just losing it. If Tom's not evil, that means I'm evil. Well, right there shows you again that conflict of lying to yourself while she says it's all lies. You can't maintain a sense of normalcy and character and dignity when you are in that sort of conflict, trying to deny and forcibly remove the innocent to make yourself feel assuaged and in the right.
Right. And let me at least say that as we get closer, I want to give it to you, cut it off in 2 hours so you're not exhausted after this. I will say self-examination means there's hope. If you have, not speaking to you, but speaking to Julie or anybody else involved in this, if you even have the capability to stop back and say, wow, what am I doing? What am I involved in? It's never too late. And in fact, you are the very person that could help bring this to a quick conclusion. You will help collapse it all by simply doing the right thing. Come back. You know that Tom's a good guy. Come home. Join him and help him collapse. You see, guys, I have pages of notes. This is connected. You've seen this. Pat Robertson, the FBI, Hollywood, the Vatican. It's all connected. This guy getting a win here is the beginning, the match that lights the bonfire that brings us out. No longer, they are prepping, Tom, right after the pandemic into climate change and the tyranny increasing. They're talking about in California now, in 10 years, it's going to be illegal for you to buy a vehicle with an internal combustion engine. They're working on the red flag laws, Tom, Donald Trump saying, hey, no. If someone says, if a family member says another member is crazy, go take the guns. Better to go ahead and get out of, skip over due process and just take their rights, take the authority. This is steamrolling. And Tom Althouse and his story, as crazy as that sounds, is the knight that blocks the chess move on the table. His story getting out and him getting a win. So
that's what the insides say. The insiders on our tape from Disney and others are saying you've won the chess game because you did the interviews like your son told you, and they're afraid of your power now, those that are above them. So it's like, yeah, we've lasted, we did the intellectual property, we did the work, we got it done, and that's meant for everybody. It's meant for all people. So we all win in the end. So I appreciate what you just said. And also my brother and my mom both said, we all said together that if Julie gets an evaluation, a mental evaluation, which authorities are now suggesting, we'll be there for her. We'll be there for her, saying we were always there for you. She doesn't operate that way. When she's bought on the inside, you get the knife, you destroy, and that's all you do. And you pound at it, you keep going at it, and you keep bragging. When she stops bragging about the rewards she's going to get and bigger rewards and travel, then we'll know that it's coming to a close in the chapter. Fitzpatrick, if he loses her ability to disrupt his family, then he's lost his chess piece on the board. And so
absolutely. And if she's broken, it's just a sad fact of human existence, particularly from a Christian perspective, that you have to be broken down first before you can come out of that and recognize in humility that yes, you've done wrong. Yes, you need outside help. From a Christian perspective, you need the salvation of Jesus Christ. From a family perspective, you need the loving arms of your family who have always been there, the prodigal son or prodigal daughter or prodigal sister, and they are waiting, and we will win. We all will win.
That's right. And one of the strategies we're going to now do is apply light on the other family members that were bought under her that she feels she controls. It was shameful for my other sister and my other brother to do what they did, and cousins to sell out too, and they knew it was wrong. And so we're going to start shedding light on what they've done and how they isolated Aiden and my mom, everything else, and even raged and screamed at her on Julie's behalf. So what you're going to see now is at some point a mental evaluation will occur of her, even with Fitzpatrick's shield of all the positions he's given her, rewards he's given her. It's going to come because she's fallen apart. And she should know, as I gave her a call. The only time I gave a call was when I left a message after this last 302 attempt, and the parameters were just off the charts, what she was claiming. I said, no one's out to get you, Julie. We just want you to stay away from us and let us have our lives. We don't want you in it at this point, and no one's out to get you. And so she doesn't respond, of course, to that. But her claim was to my mom, as she was holding up the phone, someone had inside given her a clip that she could have, was that out of all the interviews I've done, she had a clip that was given to her isolated that was me saying, I want this horror to end. I'm looking forward to this horror ending. And Aiden has a safe life. She turned that around to say, look, he's saying he's going to murder me. Now that's delusional. That's off the charts. And the authorities were saying, you're not mentioning her. You're just saying you want this to stop, the horror to stop. There's no name, pronoun, anything. So that's how twisted it is, how far she's gone, where it will now open the doors apparently for mental evaluation.
Yeah, there's no vengeance. What we're doing is we are encouraging a ground up movement to bring justice. There have been countless crimes committed, and justice will come. And the more people that receive this, the more people that get angry over this, the more power we will have to see justice done. And right now, Tom, I'm not expecting the machine that is in place right now to be bringing us justice. It's going to have a different look to it. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it is coming. It will start with your victories. You focus on your victories and let guys like me worry about seeing justice occur for Kirk and Sean and seeing right done.
Right. I have something I think might be interesting to you too as we go.
Please.
in the screenplay itself, the Oracle, which doesn't look like Sophia Stewart.
Not a smoking black woman.
Yeah, no, that was put there to make it for her to be a first claimant. That's the only thing. She didn't write any work. They just made it look like her because it was in-house. So, but in this, it's actually modeled after myself, the Oracle. And that's because I was knowing what was going on. And so I modeled after myself because I knew how that character would behave and act. And so it's kind of interesting. Now I'm acting like an Oracle in a sense, I guess.
You did have overview. There's no doubt you did have. I mean, look at it. These metaphors have lasted. These metaphors define the truth community, Tom. That's not an exaggeration.
And that's amazing because all I was doing is whispering through art, like I say, to try to warn next generations. I didn't think our generation would get it. I didn't think our people would get it. I thought, all I could do is whisper it. And I was under death threat from Robertson's group and you name it, Disney and all. So I was like, okay, I'll just whisper through art. But in the original piece, my character actually enters in to the elite, is given position in the elite to try to work from the inside. So that was like one of the final things that happens in the screenplay.
Right. And may the Lord continue to bless you with discernment so that you can walk that balance. You have not compromised at any step. And hopefully the Lord will continue to bless you with discernment so that you can accept the wins and the victories without compromise. Very, very important, very critical.
And you know what else too, I think is cool, Johnny, is that watch shills. I can draw a lot of the shills' attention now. A lot of the people inside the cabal that are supposed to be those minions that work to underground, cut the ground out from other people. A lot of them are coming my way en masse now, which means I'm drawing them away from other people, which feels good. Because, I mean, look at the evidence we have. There's no way to debate it. They're down to saying, I think he uses hair gel. I think he dyes his hair. Look at his eyes, look evil. It's like they're down to throwing things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if they're throwing that stuff out of the kitchen sink and that's all they got left, we've got them with the evidence we have. All they can do is try to distract from the evidence, which was drawing away from others being hampered or hit upon. So I feel like I'm able to make a bridge for others by drawing the fire right now, but our evidence is irrefutable. The documentary will cut right through.
Yeah, don't be swayed by any of that foolishness. The audience that we want are the ones that will be swayed by names, places, and dates, real facts, not ridiculous ad hominem attacks. I had no idea that Sophia Stewart actually had a resemblance to the farcical. That's crazy.
Completely intentional. It was done on purpose so she could claim she's the one it was taken from. She does that. See, she's playing it. I didn't know she was playing that. So she does that on purpose and models her hair like that. So she doesn't have a body of work. Third Eye has nothing to do with it.
Wait. She had like a 33-page term paper that she ridiculous.
Based on Star Wars and the Bible. It's Star Wars and the Bible. Nothing to do with Terminator or Matrix.
Ridiculous.
So it's not even a complete script. It's not a script. It's just a mumble jumbo of 33 pages.
Absurd.
It's not a
Absolutely
script.
Absurd.
So yeah, so the whole claim for her is that she got to claim it first, and she's a paralegal, by the way. So they know that she can do the law stuff with helping her, and that she looks like the Oracle. That is not anything. That's nothing. Right. That just means you're in house, and they geared that way where you don't have to have a body of work. Yeah.
Right, because the same people that did the casting for the movie. Good, Tom, there's so much to cover, the casting and who was involved, and Keanu Reeves, and whether or not he pulled a Roman Polanski a deal with the devil and to get rid of. My goodness.
There's the inserts they did. There's the things they did in the other films, like The Good Place, Man in the High Castle. You go on it, where you talked about Otika. That train station graphic that they stuck in Man in the High Castle is so mind-blowing when you consider the Otika story. I'd love to go over that at some point. Then Spielberg, what Spielberg has done, who's headed this up with Disney and Robertson's group. They're the three that really made this all kick in the beginning.
Wow.
With the FBI. And
so many
incredible things. Yeah. And where the concepts come from, the Wachowskis don't understand them, like the train station scene, little girl, they don't understand it. So all they did was lift what they thought was cool. Like you said, Will Smith's not sure the screenplay. That's why I turned it down. But all they're doing is ranting and raving about, oh, it's going to be so cool and so cool. Well, that's not writers pitching a screenplay.
Right.
No wonder he turned it down. But yeah, there's so much to cover. Where these things came from, what they actually mean, how they go back in the screenplay in a well-ordered thing instead of being convoluted into 4 screenplays.
And how much these legends are all frauds. Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, the Wachowskis.
Failed.
Nothing.
Wouldn't make it as a writer. And he is my biggest nemesis ever. Christopher Nolan at Universal Studios, Star Trek series, biggest nemesis ever. And what he did in Interstellar is a slap in my face that I'll never forgive.
He steals regularly from his own Jesuit trained brother, Jonathan.
He's gone. He's a Wachowski to the core and core.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if he came up being transgender too. Still having
forced into it. Tom, you're fantastic. I'm just so thrilled by this. God bless you. Continue to be courageous and to prosper. Really looking forward to picking up right where we left off on Wednesday. And brother, have a great day. What a great interview, man.
I love that you said prosper.
right.
Yeah, I mean, let's win it all back, and let's get this world back to where it should be.
Amen. And I am very excited to have you be leading, that you be the face of this first victory. It's going to be where it starts to break and tear down.
Well, that's a nice tie-in. Yeah, made to be the face of Christian Coalition. Let's make it the face of a whole movement.
You bet. Of restoring true Christian value and virtue to people who've never had it.
That's right, where we don't have a price tag.
Tom, thank you. Have a great day. Really excited. Stay in touch, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Talk soon.